What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today I want to talk about a topic that might get me in some trouble. I want to reveal to you some of the secrets of what it's like to review video games. My job is to beat stuff and explain it to people, to talk about what's good and what's bad, and you know what? I absolutely love this job. Of course, who wouldn't? But the longer I do it, the more I notice that it's kind of a peculiar career. Doing it is just so strange, starting with the fact that I interact very directly with developers. The people who are making these games want me to like it. They want to send me stuff, they want me to really kind of dig into it and you know, show it to my audience. That makes sense. But what you may not know is that since they want me to beat the game, if I get stuck, I can actually talk to them. If I'm sent a game 2 weeks early and I can't figure out a puzzle or there's just a boss that's super confusing, I can reach out through specific channels and actually get answers. I can get tips from the people who made the game telling me how to get past it. That is pretty normal, I guess, and it makes sense because of the fact that, well, since it's before release, there's not YouTube videos to help me, I can't ask on forums, I'm alone in this. Here's where things get even more odd though. Sometimes when you're reviewing a game, when they send you it, they'll also send you a strategy guide. Yes, I'm serious. There have been times when I'm getting a project that I think is going to be really difficult and I'm excited for that challenge, and attached to the email telling me when I'm going to get the game is also a giant PDF. A digital version of an entire strategy guide that explains where every secret path is, what every weakness of every enemy is, and where all the guns are. It's almost like having cheat codes, and I do understand to an extent. I mean, they need you to beat this. You can't write the video and you can't report on it if you haven't beaten it, so they want to give you the tools to get past stuff. But it's really weird. So there's some places where they'll even give you a specially made reviewer's guide, which actually explains all sorts of stuff about how certain mechanics work, basically breaking the game down in greater detail than any instruction booklet ever would. And what's odd about this is sometimes these have their own graphics, their own like cool art. It's like having a super fancy instruction booklet made exclusively for you. It takes a lot of time, and it's strange to think that only a few hundred people will ever get to see this interesting art and stuff. Now, going along with the theme of trying to make it easier so that less skilled reviewers can beat it, a lot of times they send you the most deluxe edition. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it actually can be. This Super Ultimate Gold Edition they send you will typically have extra bonus perks, like a season pass built in, or extra weapons occasionally. You know, think about it. If you look at the crazy pre-order bonuses of particular games, it'll make it where you can actually get a side quest that gives you an ultimate weapon earlier on. There's also some really weird circumstances, like if you get the season pass for BioShock Infinite, you get earlier potions that make it where you can have more shielding. Basically, this makes it where you'll have tons more life at the start of the game. Now, what's weird about this is if you have that season pass, the game doesn't say anything. You just go in there, and when you would be getting 1 potion at the start, you get 5 potions. Each one of these are increasing your total amount of health exponentially. If you're just a reviewer going into that, you wouldn't even know it's something different. So a lot of times when I'm reviewing stuff, to try and make sure that I'm being as honest as possible, I'll first try to investigate what each of the different editions do. I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally misconstruing it when I'm showing it to the audience. I want you to understand what the game would be like if you just got the disc, put it straight in your console, and played it. No bonuses, no pre-orders, no DLC. What the raw experience would be like. That's what I want to try and convey, and I feel like when I get these giant editions, I have to really try and pick apart what the core game would be. If you're wondering why they do that, my theory is that they want you to come back and talk about it again in the future. So if they give you the Super Edition and it comes with a Season Pass, then you're going to keep getting updates and extra pieces of content later on, and you're more likely to talk about it in future videos and podcasts. This brings me to the third thing I really want to go into, which is embargoes. This is probably the most bizarre part of my job. Now, if you've never heard of the word embargo before, basically what they do is they send me the game 2 weeks or a month early, and with it they have a message that says you can post your video at such and such time and such date, typically a couple days before release. Now, the reason they do this is to make sure that every reviewer is spending as much time possible with it as they can. If you didn't actually have this rule, people would just be throwing up first impression videos 2 weeks early and they'd be really sloppy. People would be trying to rush that stuff out the door, and I mean, no offense to places like IGN, but they would definitely just have 17 updates to their freaking video of review update number 1, review update number 2, just because they try and get anything out there. Whereas, since there is an embargo in place, they're forced to take all this extra time to really try and enjoy the experience before they tell anybody about it. Here's the truly strange aspect of this, though, which is that sometimes embargoes actually ask you to do specific stuff, like they'll send you a game an entire month early, but then say, don't talk about the ending. Or sometimes they'll actually say just really particular stuff. Like when I reviewed Samus Returns, they actually asked me not to show you the later parts of the art gallery because it revealed stuff about the last boss and the final levels. They didn't want to spoil you too much in the video review, and I get that. Obviously, they're trying to get more people to buy their game. I totally get that. But it can be weird to get sometimes these giant lists that say, don't talk about this game mode, which can be like unlocked after you beat it. Or sometimes it'll specifically say, don't mention this weapon and this weapon is okay. It seems like when they want you to talk about it, they'll give you like almost a list of demands. Now, I don't mind putting up with these because most of the time they're completely reasonable, but it just seems really peculiar when you get a game early, you're installing it, and you're so excited, and then you're reading over the list of things, and sometimes it's like, okay, cool, don't show the cutscene of chapter 6, and so you're like, well, what the heck happened? It's in chapter 6, and then when you end up playing it, it turns out like a main character dies, and it's like, oh my gosh, you almost kind of spoiled it for me with your warning not to spoil it. It's just really encompasses the fact that this job is so bizarre. Dissecting the best and worst parts of them is my job, and that's so crazy. I love it, but there's also sort of the bad side. I have to admit that there are some occasions where I review a game that is trash and I just want to die. It sucks to have to just trudge through a really bad game. Now, the way I explain it to people who don't really get it is, imagine the worst game you've ever played or the worst movie you've ever watched. Then you have to watch it 10 times over. You have to watch it and watch it and watch it, forcing yourself to absorb each and every horrible detail and then write a lengthy essay about why it sucks. It can be very painful. There's a genre of movie I absolutely hate. It's an Italian genre called giallos. It's basically like a mystery, but shot completely out of order, and they don't even have a solution. They're very artsy, and in my opinion, they are garbage. Seriously, they are dumpster fires on film. Well, I had a friend who was really into them, and he'd make me watch them all the time. Sometimes when I'm playing a game that sucks, and I just have to keep getting further so I can get enough footage to explain why it sucks, I'm reminded of all those awful giallos I watched. You know, this job has its ups and its downs, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thank you so much for supporting me and letting me do this job. I couldn't do this without your help. And I'm sure a bunch of people in the comments are going to tell me that it's not a job and that I should just shut my mouth. And you know what? That's totally fine. I'm just glad anybody watches. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh man, I'm sure all the other reviewers are going to assassinate me for talking about this. So if I somehow die in the middle of the night, well, I don't have any regrets. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.